It is my pleasure to be speaking today with musician and human rights activist Deeyah. She was born in Norway to Muslim immigrant parents and was immersed in music from an early age. Classically trained in the North Indian and Pakistani vocal tradition and released 3 albums in Norway before intimidation and physical threats prompted her to move to the UK, where she eventually faced the same kind of trouble, and in 2005, I believe, moved to the US. She stopped performing in 2006 and today spends much of her time working on issues of human rights and freedom of expression, including her latest project, the compilation called Listen to the Band. That's Banned. Along with the free speech organization Free Music, Deeyah presents 14 songs from artists in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East whose music has been banned or suppressed. Deeyah, welcome to Spin the Globe.
Thank you very, very much for having me, and thank you so much for supporting this project.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and also just to find out a little bit more about the background of this project. I want to point out, first of all, that the music on the album it's really diverse and compelling and interesting music. It's not an album that people will want to get just because it's for a good cause. It starts off with this slow, beautiful song by Vasa Madat, and then gets more energetic with songs by Farhad Darya from Afghanistan and Lapiro de Mbanga from Cameroon. Can you tell us a little about how you got involved in this album and how the artists and songs were selected?
Well, the album is a collaborative effort and very much a labor of love of mine and also the co-producer of the album, which is a gentleman named Ule Raitov of the organization Free Muse. And as you said, Free Muse is basically an independent international organization that advocates the freedom of expression of musicians and composers worldwide, and there is no other organization like them that actually does that. Mm-hmm. When I was facing some of the troubles that I did in my career, and especially towards the end of my performing career, I came across the work of Free Muse, and and what they had to offer, and basically found a lot of support, a lot of encouragement, and a lot of understanding from them, which is something that I desperately needed at the time. And beyond that, as I started learning more about Free Muse and the work that they do, and also the artists that they have worked with through the years, I kept getting more and more intrigued by this work, and wanted to find a way to where we could do something together and where we could help provide some sort of support both for this incredibly crucial work that Free Muse does, but also providing a bigger platform for some of these really wonderful artists, and essentially also to stand in solidarity with these artists, acknowledging their struggles and their hardships. So probably about 2 years or so ago, I would say, Free Muse and I decided, let's try and do an album together, and so we started the process then, and it's taken actually quite a while to get to this point, and a lot of music, a lot of stories that we went through, and now we finally have this project finally put together. And I would say, having gone through the amount of material and incredible music that is out there, that finds itself restricted, banned, or censored, I do feel like this is probably going to be the first album in a series of many, which in one way is very sad, the fact that that this is going on. On the other hand, as a music lover, it's also very exciting to get to discover such incredible, wonderful music.
Well, absolutely. And one of the things I was going to mention probably about half of the artists on the album are probably familiar to listeners of this show as artists that we've played. But then there are a number of them that are not even familiar to me. I am learning about these as well, so it's a wonderful. Exposure to new music.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Actually, that's I would say then that has partly we've accomplished some of what we were hoping, which is to hopefully bring some of these really wonderful voices to more ears. And also, many of these artists now live in exile. Many of these artists are not able to perform in their home countries, and I think just thinking of the livelihood of an artist and someone who creates music, and that's their primary source of existence, financially as well, and how a person is able to support their family. I think in terms of that as well, it's very crucial that we were able to hopefully bring this music to more ears, to where these artists can start building an audience, a welcoming audience, hopefully outside of the restrictions and the countries that they're in, so they can continue their work, hopefully, which, it is just, in principle, such an essential thing. If you think about music as the profound art form that it really is, and as a part of our heritage, our culture, and really a gift from even our ancestors, I think whatever we can do to help sort of safeguard this real important treasure and form of expression, I think we need to do that. And that's why I'm so very thankful for people and organizations like Free Muse, who are tirelessly, constantly working to protect the rights of musicians. And there is nobody else out there doing that, which is really bizarre to me.
Yeah. So do you think, when you're talking about building an audience, a wider audience for some of these artists, does that help them overcome the conditions of censorship within their own countries? Are there instances of that?
Well, I think, for example, Mahsa Vadat, who you just mentioned, the incredible, beautiful female voice, Iranian female voice that opens the album, she does not perform in Iran. But she is now starting to find a bigger audience with the concerts and the exposure that she's had through the years outside of Iran. She's now able to continue her art because of that support. Does that help her audience or ability to perform inside Iran? Probably not yet. But at the very least, it allows her the ability to continue. And also, beyond her actually coming outside of the country and performing, also obviously technology and internet has, that's one of the beautiful things of that, how that's helped in also spreading these voices far beyond their countries.
Sure. And also to help spread them back to those countries. I know,
exactly.
Mahsa has released a number of albums with KKV Records in Norway, and I'm guessing that whether they're released officially or not in Iran, that underground, that those are circulating, and that she is serving as an example for, say, Iranian girls who might aspire to a musical career.
Very much so. I think Mahsa is just such a beautifully inspiring artist in general, coming from the background that she's from, being musically as strong as she is as well. I think she is such a fantastic example of a really empowered, beautiful, talented Iranian female voice, which we don't get to hear a lot of, female Muslim voices like that often, So to me, it's quite personal with, especially with women like her, Aziza, Amal on the album as well. That those voices exist and are supported as much as possible.
When you say it's personal, I'm curious, how many of these artists do you know personally?
I did not know them before the project, so I was introduced to them through this album, and I'm very thankful to this project because it has helped start some really wonderful friendships with many of the artists. Some of the artists I've actually never spoken with, but that's probably just a few. The rest of them I now actually stay in regular contact with, and I think some sort of collaborative efforts between us will continue after this album as well, and more importantly, I think a real sense of friendship and a sense of solidarity and sort of trying to be there for each other in whatever small ways that we can. I think that's now developed, which I think is also very powerful and very important. for all of us, to be honest, to be able to have the ability to connect with each other as artists in that way as well.
Right. I think that's important for any creative folks, is to have that network of support, and particularly for people facing these kind of hurdles.
Yes, and again, this is, coming back to Free Muse again, this is what Free Muse also is so wonderful at cultivating, is these connections and this real network of solidarity and friendship and creativity and artistry, which is really very, very essential, I think. And I wish more people would stand up as well with organizations like Free Muse. For example, even your typical standard music industry, I wish more people from that would also stand in solidarity with our colleagues spread across the world, suffering some real suffocating hardships. We do have many. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was saying, we have many organizations in the West where that do support artist rights. But when we talk about artist rights, I think in the West we typically think of the rights to own more of your music, for example, or earn more money from, for example, your compositions or your performances, which in itself is very, very important. Those abilities are very important. But if you look at the situations of these artists on this album, and many like them, they're denied the very basic, fundamental ability to even have a voice.
Right. To
never mind being able to make more money. It's having a voice is denied.
Perform or record or to have their music heard. I'm speaking with Deeyah from about the compilation Listen to the Band, which is out by Free Muse and Valley Entertainment. Deeyah, would you, I think it's probably time for us to let people listen to a little of this music. Would you pick a track and tell us a little about it, and we'll hear some of that?
Well, actually, since we've been speaking about Mahsa Vadat, I would love for you to play her song, if that's possible. And this is the Iranian wonderful vocalist that we were just speaking about.
And her song, it's the one that opens the album, and it's called Mystery. So we'll be back with Deeyah in just a moment. This is Mahsa Vadat from Iran.
Oh